Guitar Collector Guy presents At Long Last I Found an Alpine White Gibson SG that I could afford. Ever since about 15 years ago, I saw a video of Sister Rosetta Tharpe play a white Gibson SG. I've always wanted one. The problem is, by what you can see on the screen here, is they don't come cheap. But I finally did find one, and it was at the Guitar Center in their used gear section. Buying from Guitar Center's used gear online from a location somewhere else in the United States is quite the crapshoot. I don't know if you've ever perused their stuff, but you get a single really bad photo, and you also don't get anything in the text. Sometimes they may actually put in there whether or not it comes with a case or not. Matter of fact, when I found this, I spent 3 days just trying to get them to answer an email. And then finally, I ended up calling the store to see if this one even came with a case, of which it didn't. It looked like it was in good shape from the picture, and the price was exceptional. So I finally just took the chance that the one thing that Guitar Center actually does do well is if I bought it and I didn't like it, I could always return it to one of the stores and get my money back. So I went ahead and I placed the order. I found out that it didn't come with a case, so I didn't want to buy a case because I actually had one. So ultimately what I did was I paid for next day shipping, because I figured if they're sending me a Gibson SG, which sometimes can be perceived as one of the more fragile guitars in the world, the last thing I really wanted to do is to have it on UPS ground or something where it's being thrown around for days on end while it's being shipped here, and not in a case, and it's just, packed in a box with styrofoam and, bubble wrap. So I'm really, really happy to say that it got here, and it actually got here in pretty good shape. So I have this white cat named Angel, and Angel is a sweetheart to me, but treats all the animals in the house and other humans sometimes like crap, and will actually attack and bite and so on. And she's like really, really beautiful, but has a bite. And when I saw this guitar, I kind of thought, wow, that's just like Angel. And so I kind of named it that because it kind of is a lot like her. Temperamental, sweet, to me, but, definitely has a bite. When I saw the open pickups on it, I thought to myself, that's just not going to do. And so I decided to go ahead and buy the Gibson pickup covers. And I actually bought Gibson brand pickup covers so I would make sure that they fit properly. And just so you know, when you buy pickup covers for Gibson and they're fitting on Gibson humbucker pickups, they actually make one specifically for the bridge and one for the neck. So make sure that you're getting one of each, and you're installing them on the associated pickup. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify. So installing pickup covers is not the most difficult task. You just need to have the right tools. You have to remove the pickguard and then remove the two humbucker pickups from the pickguard so you can actually work with them. And the proper tools are, like sandpaper, RTV, or wax. You want to have some tape and a really, really hot soldering iron. Matter of fact, I recommend, turning the soldering iron up pretty high if it's a variable temperature soldering iron. It's because you're going to be doing a solder point between the pickup cover and the pickup. You don't want to leave it on too long so it damages the pickup, but it needs to be hot enough to make the solder flow between the two metal points. In this project, I only removed one of the humbuckers at a time. In hindsight, it's a lot easier if you just remove them both from the pickguard and set the pickguard off, and then you don't have to worry about constantly kind of moving the pickguard out of the way while you're working. I did the bridge pickup first. I made sure that the package that the package with the bridge cover, or the pickup cover, was actually the ones specifically for the bridge. It's a good idea to, before you really get into this and do it, align the pickup cover to make sure that it actually aligns with the pull pieces. And the other thing is if you look at the humbucker pickup, you'll see that there's 2 rows of pulls, one that are variable, that are screws. The screws are what pulls that you want to be sticking or protruding through the pickup cover. So the other thing is when you do actually fit the pickup cover over the pickup, you'll discover that one, it's just not made to just fit together. Sometimes they do. I mean, sometimes they literally drop in place. It's a loose fit. You end up having to use some sort of like a C-clamp or something on it. You can see that I have pictured here to hold the cover in place while you work on it. Or to be honest with you, like this, where you put it in and it's a really tight fit. So the first thing you see me doing here is I'm sanding the inside 2 walls of the pickup cover, and I'm doing this to remove enough of the plating so the solder will actually bind to the wall of the pickup cover. Otherwise it won't, because of the plating. And so I'm putting it together, just making sure that it fits. It does. And then now I'm going to put a piece of tape down the center of the pickup. And then I'm taking RTV sealant. Some people put drops of hot wax instead. I just like the RTV sealant. Both are actually pretty easy to remove if you want to, put the pickup back in its original condition. I just put a few little dabs or drops, not a lot, but it's enough to basically bind the pickup cover to the top of the pickup, and then you don't have it'll reduce like microphonic and as well as vibrations that you could potentially get when you were playing and so on, and it'd make a horrible sound. So once you get it in place, the other thing I discovered, at least with this pickup, is there's the protective tape around the windings, and I needed to peel back a little bit of it on each side. So there actually was metal exposed on the back of the pickup. So again, I could put a good binding of the solder between the pickup cover and the pickup itself. So with the soldering part of this, it's important to basically heat up both the sides of the pickup cover as well as the bottom of the pickup, and then you're kind of feeding the solder onto that, and it should melt then on the surface and flow, and then basically bind the 2 metal parts together. I had my soldering iron at a pretty high temperature. I was really kind of nervous about leaving it on there for too long. I've heard that you want to use a chisel tip, but I couldn't find mine, so I just had to use what I had on my soldering iron, and it worked. And so the end product looks good. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, and it would give the guitar basically that kind of that elegant look instead of the open pickups. So getting the screw and the spring and through the pickguard. So you put the screw through and then you drop the spring on it and you kind of compress the spring, and then enough where there's a small amount of the threaded part of the screw sticking out. And then you want to push down and hold in place the screw aligned with the threaded hole on the pickup, and then just screw it in enough where it'll hold, and then do the other side. Sometimes this is kind of a pain, to be honest with you, to try to get the pickups back in this way with the screw and stuff. Over the years, it just has gotten easier the more I've done it. So installing the bridge pickup cover, the instructions are exactly the same. You know, you basically take the pickup cover, you take the sandpaper, you sand on the inside to try to remove enough of the plating, where the solder will have two things. One, enough plating removed, but also a roughened surface that makes it easier. Also here you can see me using the screwdriver to carefully just kind of strip back some of the tape on the back of the pickup, so I have a metal surface exposed that the solder can actually adhere to when I attempt to solder the bridge cover to it. The other thing is you'll see me here take the pickup cover and I'll align it to the top of the pickup to make sure that it actually does fit. It does. And then I move on with pushing the pickup, putting on the tape, dabs of RTV, pushing the pickup together, and then making sure that, here's what I was talking about, where you can see how the poles line up perfectly with the holes in the pickup cover, so you know that it's made. And I did this on the other one, but you didn't see it in the video. I backed out the pull screws by about a full turn. And I did this on each of them because after you install the pickup cover, they were a little too low and I wanted them to be set at about the same height as when the pickup cover was off. So this pickup cover was a little more loose than the neck pickup cover. And so I have this C-clamp that I make where it's not putting tight. It's literally all it's doing is just putting enough pressure to keep them together. And I put electrical tape over the end so it wouldn't scar or mar the surface of the pickup cover or the bottom of the pickup. And it's great then because I can have it hold it exactly in place while I solder the 2 points on the back of the pickup cover and the pickup. So while I had the strings off, the fretboard was just like absolutely dry and needed a little bit of reconditioning. So I put a little bit of oil on each, and not a lot, so there wasn't a lot of excess. And then I used the heat of my hands to actually rub it into the fretboard. I actually learned this a long time ago. I used to refinish gun stocks, and I would use boiled linseed oil and do exactly the same thing. And a little bit of the oil goes a long way, and you can really spread it out and evenly apply with the heat of your hands, and it gives it a really nice finish. And so that's what I'm doing here with the fretboard. The one thing that's really important when you're installing new strings, and it'll help you not only tune the guitar but keep the guitar tuned properly, is to really give it the guitar a really good string stretch before you actually start doing the initial tuning. Some guitars, like my Fender Mustang, I've actually found that I had to stretch, tune, stretch, tune, stretch, tune until it was, it really depends upon the bridge and the tuners that are in the guitar. So since I had actually taken the entire bridge assembly off and two of the posts, it was necessary for me to recalibrate the string height. And so I measured, looking at the string height of all 6 strings, found that both the 3 low strings and 3 high strings were off and were a little too high. And so I lowered both, and I basically did about a half to a full turn. And you can see here I was actually turning the wrong way, and then suddenly realize that, and then start turning the correct way. And then when I went back in and measured each of the strings, they were pretty much where they were supposed to be within tolerance. So she is a beauty, and I think I actually got a pretty good deal. I mean, if I ever had a mind to sell this thing, now I could probably at the very least get the money that I've put into it out of it, but I don't think that I will. This is something that I've wanted for a really long time. She plays beautifully and looks gorgeous. I really lucked out with Guitar Center. I mean, yes, if it was a local store and I could have gone and looked at it, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. But the fact that, I literally bought it with one picture, which is pretty close to being sight unseen without any identifying, description or anything like that. It's one of the things I like about eBay and Reverb is, one, the most of the time the seller actually communicate with you, sometimes unlike Guitar Center. And two, you also can see a multitude of pictures. You can request more pictures, and most of the time people put a pretty good description on there. So I think it was worth it to put the pickup covers on. I think that she looks a lot more elegant and fitting kind of to her stature. Sister Loretta would probably love this guitar and play it, and so on. And I'm going to put a link to some videos of her in the description for this, and please check it out. And you're going to see the history of her. There's one video that's done by Gibson that's incredible. And, I've really learned quite a bit about her. I really didn't know, prior to about 10, 15 years ago. And I'm just amazed at how influential she was on, rock and the music that we listen to today. As I said in the Gibson video, everybody expects, there was quote unquote the godfather of, rock and roll, when all along it may have actually been a godmother. And the stuff she was doing in a gospel band playing on an SG was just amazing. She used distortion and all kinds of stuff. So it was incredible. So back to Guitar Center. I mean, they get a lot of guff about their level of service of late. And also too, there's a lot of stuff in the paper about their financial woes and so on. But the one thing that I have always really appreciated with them, and I think most people in the music community do, is that they take things back. And as long as you're returning something in the same condition that you got it in, it's a guarantee that you're going to get your money back. And so if the angel here had been delivered to me and not as she turned out to be, I would have definitely taken her back into the store, and I'm absolutely confident I would have got my money back. So that's why I was willing to take the chance at just seeing a photo with no description. Thank you for watching Guitar Collector Guy. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you come back and watch more. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify.